If you enjoy stepping beyond the known, a new channel is coming, one that explores ghosts, legends, and the stories whispered after dark. Stay tuned until the very end of the video. In the spring of 1925, one of Britain's most experienced jungle explorers vanished without a trace. Deep in the Brazilian Amazon, Colonel Percy Fawcett, a decorated artillery officer and Fellow of the Royal Geographical Society, set off to prove the existence of a lost civilization he called Z. With him went his 22-year-old son, Jack, and Jack's friend, Raleigh Rimell. The three men disappeared into the jungle. No radio calls, no last sightings, just a final letter, and then silence. What followed was a century of rumor, obsession, and more than 100 failed rescue attempts. But to understand what made this disappearance so haunting, you have to step back, decades earlier, and follow the full trail from the beginning. Percival Harrison Fawcett was born on the 18th of August, 1867, in the coastal town of Torquay, Devon. He was the second son of Edward Boyd Fawcett, a Fellow of the Royal Geographical Society, and Myra Elizabeth MacDougall, a woman of Scottish descent, with strong Anglican and military ties. His father's study was filled with maps and exploration journals, fuel for a curious mind. From an early age, Percy absorbed the family's values, discipline, discovery, and determination. He had 4 siblings, including an older brother, Edward Douglas Fawcett, born in 1866. Edward became a philosopher, mountaineer, and novelist, offering an intellectual counterpoint to Percy's pragmatic exploration. Percy also had 3 sisters, Myra, Blanche, and Beatrice. On the 31st of January, 1901, Percy married Nina Agnes Patterson. She was of Ceylonese British descent and the daughter of a colonial judge. Together they had 3 children, Jack, born in 1903, Brian in 1906, and Joan in 1910. By the age of 10, Percy was already sketching coastlines in chalk, copying maps from old atlases in the parlour. He attended Newton Abbot Proprietary College, where he excelled in mathematics and geography. In 1886, at age 19, he enrolled at the Royal Military Academy in Woolwich, where he trained as an artillery officer and mastered the science of cartography. Commissioned as a lieutenant in the Royal Artillery on July 24, 1886, Fawcett served in Ceylon, now Sri Lanka, where he met Nina. He continued his military service until 1910, though he briefly returned during World War I. Volunteering at nearly 50 years of age, he rose to the rank of lieutenant colonel, commanded an artillery brigade in Flanders, and was awarded the Distinguished Service Order in June 1917. Fawcett's reputation as a fearless and meticulous surveyor began in 1906, when the Royal Geographical Society dispatched him to South America to help resolve a border dispute between Brazil and Bolivia. His route from England likely involved sailing across the Atlantic to a major South American port, probably Rio de Janeiro or Buenos Aires, before heading inland by rail, steamship, and pack animals toward the Bolivian capital, La Paz. La Paz stood nearly 12,000 feet above sea level, a gateway to the unknown. From there, Fawcett led expeditions into the Mato Grosso, a vast wilderness in west-central Brazil, marked by flooded plains, dense forests, and crocodile-choked rivers. Between 1906 and 1914, he conducted 7 expeditions, charting unclaimed stretches of jungle and river including the Rio Verde and the Heath River. Unlike many explorers of his time, Fawcett refused to treat indigenous people as obstacles. He brought gifts, not guns. He often travelled light, preferring mobility over force, and believed that respect was the better mapmaker. His ability to pass through contested territories without violence became legendary, and it earned him safe passage, where others vanished. During these years, Fawcett reported some unusual sightings: a 62-foot anaconda, giant spiders with deadly venom, and glowing-eyed beasts watching from the treetops. Many dismissed these stories, even mocked them, but they fed the mythos that would one day engulf him. By 1920, Fawcett had become obsessed with a theory that a sophisticated pre-Columbian civilization had once thrived in the Amazon. He called it the Lost City of Zed. His belief wasn't wild guesswork. It was rooted in both anecdotal experience and historical documents. Chief among these was Manuscript 512, a mysterious 18th century Portuguese account discovered in the archives of the National Library of Rio de Janeiro. It described an inland city filled with arches, statues, and temples of stone hidden deep within the Sertão of Brazil. Fawcett believed this city could be found somewhere beyond the upper tributaries of the Xingu River, and he wasn't about to leave that belief untested. He spent years preparing for a final expedition, gathering supplies, assembling maps, coordinating with trusted local contacts he had established over decades in the field. But there was one instruction he made absolutely clear: if he were to vanish, no one should come looking for him. In late 1924, Fawcett arrived in Cuiabá, the capital of Mato Grosso, to launch his last journey. With him were his son Jack and Jack's friend Raleigh Rimell. Both young men were in their early 20s and had minimal survival training. The party also included 2 Brazilian labourers, 8 mules, 2 horses, 2 dogs, and weeks' worth of canned food, powdered milk, hunting rifles, mosquito nets, a sextant, compasses, and Fawcett's weathered notebooks. Supplies were acquired in Cuiabá, and through favours owed to Fawcett by rubber traders and missionaries from earlier journeys. He relied on a trail known as the Telegraph Line Trail, a path cut through the jungle in the late 19th century to install telegraph wires. Along that trail was a way station, known as Dead Horse Camp, so named because Fawcett had once been forced to shoot his exhausted horse there during a prior expedition. Before leaving Dead Horse Camp, Percy, Jack, and Raleigh made a pact. No one should follow them, no matter what happened. It was a final act of control, a shield meant to protect others from the same fate. The group's route was carefully mapped: travel upriver, along the Rio Culuene, then cross to tributaries feeding the upper Xingu River. From there, Fawcett believed, lay the threshold of Zed. On 29th May 1925, a native courier arrived in Cuiabá, carrying a letter from Fawcett. These couriers, usually caboclos, men of mixed indigenous and European descent, were skilled bushmen. They were often hired by robber barons or missionaries to carry mail through the forest. They could traverse the jungle on foot or by dugout canoe, following routes known only to locals. Fawcett's message was brief but calm. The expedition is healthy, spirits are high, and we are about to venture into unexplored country. The letter was passed on to Nina Fawcett in England. After that, no further word came. In 1926, Nina Fawcett organised the first rescue expedition under the Royal Geographical Society. they traced Percy's path to Dead Horse Camp. There they found decaying gear, animal tracks, but no people. Between 1930 and 1932, Percy's second son, Percy Fawcett, led another search. He recovered a torn fragment of Jack's diary and a letter written in a shaking hand. It mentioned an encounter with a mysterious, silent tribe. Dozens of expeditions followed over the decades. Some came back with indigenous artifacts. Others vanished. In the 1940s, tribes such as the Kalapalo and Zavante offered conflicting stories: that the men had been killed, that they had died of fever, or that they simply walked into the forest and never returned. In later years, amateur explorers claimed to have seen Fawcett's possessions in tribal villages. One man insisted he found a knife engraved with Jack's initials. Another claimed he heard stories of a tall, blue-eyed elder living deep in the forest, but no physical evidence ever matched the Fawcetts, beyond doubt. As recently as 2018, satellite LiDAR scans revealed geometric earthworks buried beneath the forest canopy, evidence that complex societies may once have flourished in regions long thought uninhabited. But these discoveries are yet to be connected to Fawcett's fabled Zed. Fawcett's maps, his journals, his letters, are now preserved in the archives of the Royal Geographical Society. His legend has inspired novels, documentaries, and the acclaimed book The Lost City of Zed by David Gran, later adapted into a feature film. But the man himself, Percy Fawcett, remains missing. So do Jack and Raleigh. Their story has no confirmed ending, and perhaps that's what keeps it alive. And with that, the trail of Colonel Percy Fawcett disappears into the jungle, without a sound and without a trace. For now, we leave the realm of fact. But if you're drawn to what lies just beyond it, ghost stories, ancient superstition, fictional tales that live in the shadows, and a puzzle that could get you locked in for good, will you have the courage to accept the challenge? Grimsway will be coming soon.